Right, so what should you be looking for when you search for a job teaching English in China? And by that I mean, what do I get? How much money are you going to make? So a few things you should know about teaching English in China, and I'm going to kind of address other countries that I have some experience with. Japan, of course, I've taught in, Taiwan, Georgia. I've gotten through the contract part on both of those, and now China, I'm leaving here soon. And I've done pretty extensive reading and research on all of these, because that's what I do when I'm bored. I research. I should get a job as a researcher, now that I think of it. Well, okay, first of all, we're going to cover airfare, with the exception of Korea, South Korea. I haven't found any country that pays for your flight, like will pay you for, or will pay for your ticket. It doesn't happen. If that's what you're hoping, don't. If it does happen, it's a happy surprise. If it does not happen, do not be surprised. You need to have the money for your plane ticket in hand. I should be buying my plane ticket today or tomorrow. South Korea, honestly, it's the oddity when they don't pay for the ticket. A lot of countries, though, Taiwan and China, for instance. Taiwan and China. Don't get mad at me, China. I don't think that Taiwan... I really do think you're the same country, okay? Just very complicated. Don't freak out. Don't freak out, Taiwan, by the way. But yeah, no, if you're going to teach in Taiwan, mainland China or Taiwan, they're not going to pay for your ticket, but they will reimburse you for your flight at the end of your contract. It's kind of a nice way to ensure or to encourage you to finish your contract. My contract, for instance, equals out to about, well, it doesn't equal out to, it is 10,000 renminbi is my flight reimbursement. That is not my reimbursement for getting to China. That is my reimbursement for getting to China, and then a one-way ticket back to country of origin. So a better way to think of that is for flying to my country and from my country in any order I so please. 10,000 renminbi is, about $1,500, give or take. Don't tell my employers this, but I am not spending anywhere near that on my flights. I'm going to be getting to China, including my lunch, for about $500. And if I want to fly back, I can fly back for a little more than that. And the fact of the matter is, I don't plan on flying back on my break. If I, really want to, I can re-sign a contract, or I can sign a contract somewhere else, or I can teach in another country. The point here is, though, I don't plan on flying back to the U.S., at least not this, at the end of this contract. So if you don't fly back, that is just money in pocket. Because that's what I'm going to do with that money. I'm going to put it in my pocket. That is your end of contract bonus, effectively. So that's airfare. So let's talk about accommodations. In China, and to a lesser extent in Taiwan, well, let me restart. In Japan, you are paying your own rent. There are a few jobs I have found where they will provide you with accommodations. Most of them will not. Most of them, you will pay your own rent. Many companies, like the one I worked for, will actually find you an apartment, because it is extremely hard, if not impossible, for a gaijin to find an apartment by themselves with no connection on the ground. And even worse if you don't speak very good or any Japanese. Right, so Japan, you're paying for your apartment. That's all there is to it. Taiwan, I'm going to go with a 60-40 that you're going to get accommodations. It depends a lot more on where you're teaching. If you're teaching in Taipei, you're probably paying for your you're probably renting an apartment, but they are going to give you money to pay for it. Or if you're living in a smaller area, or maybe if you're living in Taipei, they are going to give you a place to stay as part of your arrangement. Now that of course means if you get fired or you quit, you are out of a place to stay. If you don't get either of those things with a job in Taiwan, don't take that job. That would be my example, because probably you're not going to be getting paid enough to offset that. You can find a better deal. In China, it is the rule, for the most part, that you are going to get accommodations. Most of them are going to be furnished. There's a few reasons for this, and I'm actually going to address 2-3 scenarios. If you're like me, and you're going to be working for a university, they're offering me a furnished apartment. It is basically the student dorms. That's where I'm living. I don't know if it is specifically the student dorms, but that is effectively the kind of housing I'm living in. It may actually be employee housing or professor housing, for all I know. The point is, they're giving me this housing at no cost. I don't have to pay utilities, I don't have to pay anything. If I don't want to take it, I have to pay for my own accommodations. I have to find my own accommodations. That is the standard for universities. I'm fine with that. That's fantastic for me. If you're working at a state-owned school, that's going to be the arrangement you're probably going to be given as well. And the reason why is because it's not costing the university much of anything, because they own the apartment you're in. Even if you're in a basically private apartment working for a school, yeah, you're in a private apartment working for a school, that doesn't really matter. You're still living in an apartment that they own. Very few people actually rent in China. Now, if you're working at a private center like a language center, chances are they're still going to offer you a place to live. Now, they also may offer you the chance to just get money to go pay for your own apartment. What I've gathered is this. When they do that, when they say, oh, well, you can have this apartment, or you can have this money to go pay for an apartment, take the money. The reason why is because the reason they're offering you that option, that choice, is because it's actually in your contract that you get X amount of money to pay for an apartment. Let's say 3,000 renminbi. Let's say that they offer you an apartment. The reason they're offering you an apartment is because they have went out and found an apartment for less than 3,000 renminbi. Let's say 1,500 renminbi. The extra money, that extra 1,500 renminbi, they're keeping that. And I don't mean that like indirectly. I don't mean the company's keeping that. I mean whoever they paid to go find you that apartment is keeping that money. Which means you could literally take the money, go to the apartment they were going to give you, or the one right besides it, and keep the 1,500 renminbi. Or you could just find a better apartment. Pay. Okay. So here's the punchline to my job at the university. I get paid terribly. The amount of renminbi I get paid would be an absolute joke in a private school. It would be pretty insulting in a state-owned non-university school. There's a reason for that. I work 16 hours a week with 2 hours of office time and probably 1 or 2 English corners a month. In all, I'm basically working 20 hours a week. And I'm getting paid, I was going to give consideration to whether or not I should talk about how much I actually get paid. But I get paid 5,500 renminbi. That's kind of on the low side, actually. That's about $850 US, give or take. It doesn't bug me. And it doesn't bug me because I'm working in a peripheral city of Chongqing, Haichin. I don't think I said that right, by the way. It doesn't cost a lot to live where I'm going to live. Considering I'm not going to pay for anything but food and clothing, and yeah, I can probably get by on comfortably, very comfortably, on $300 a month. Or about, $10 a day, give or take. And really, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I could make more money, but I'd have to work more. Now, that makes me sound terribly lazy. And yeah, maybe. But the thing is, my health's not great. So I'm going to go there, and if I do fine, I'm holding up great, I'll go make a little extra money. Because the thing is, with all that extra time, one second. Oh, this guy's checking the mail.
No problem, ain't nothing in it. Yeah. Bye, love you.
How you doing?
Man.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, with all that extra time, if I really wanted to, I could go make extra money. You can teach private lessons, which you will inevitably get asked to teach, even if you don't want to, no matter what job you're in. And if you really wanted to, you could easily double or triple your monthly income, in a university job. Because university jobs don't pay as well as other jobs because you're never working that long. There are also various other ways to make money. But the point is if I'm doing fine, I'm just going to pick up extra money in other ways. The money working for state-run schools, elementary school, high school, junior high, usually runs in the 8,000 to 12,000 renminbi territory. Excuse me. I always seem gassy in these videos. It depends a lot on where you're teaching, of course. If you're teaching in a really rural area, you're going to get paid less. You're going to spend less. If you get paid in a really big area, Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, you're going to spend a lot more, but you're also going to get paid more. And then we get to private schools. Private schools, oddly enough, are the best paying schools. Usually I hear most people say that 10 to 15,000 is the kind of bare minimum you should be looking for. But you're going to be working 40 hours a week. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, if you see, an advertisement that says, 30 hours a week, they're lying. I'm not going to go out and out say they're lying, but I'm going to say that from what I've gathered, they are lying. That's going to be 30 hours of classroom time with, a bunch of other things tacked in. A lot of places will insist that you clean the work center before you leave home, even though that's not in your contract. If you find yourself in one of those jobs, the only thing I can tell you I've gathered from my research is that don't put up with it. Most work centers need you way more than you need them, especially when working for private language centers. You know, if you want to switch jobs, you can do it within a few days. Literally be out of the apartment you're in, out of the job you're in a new apartment and a new job. Maybe across the country. Most people will tell you they get offered, you know, 2 jobs a day or 2 jobs a week teaching English at a language center, regardless of whether or not they want it. A lot of those jobs are not going to be as on the up and up. That being said, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. And I wouldn't care, simply put, because I'm going to have a work visa. While I'm not going to, because it would be rude, I could theoretically, you know, quit my job the week I get there and find a new job. I would owe the university money. If I don't like it there, I can give 1 month's notice. At the end of the month, I'm free and clear on the contract and go find another job. Probably find a job before I quit. I don't think I'm going to. Again, I like the idea of university teaching and having low hours. That's how it works in China. That's more or less how it works in Taiwan. Japan has a slightly different story. Public schools are, for an entry job, the easiest jobs to get. Once you're there, you can absolutely find jobs teaching English at private language schools. Super easy. You can probably switch jobs in less than 2 weeks pretty effectively. A lot of private language places in Japan will actually have places for you to stay too. It's much more likely. They're also much more likely to tell you exactly what they want, which is something that is slightly frustrating if you're working in a public school. Because of the way that Japanese culture works, if you go to a public school and you are not doing so well, if they are not happy with your performance, they're not going to tell you. They're going to tell your supervisor, and your supervisor is going to tell you. It's not them being rude or backhanded, this is just the way the Japanese culture works. They don't want to cause direct conflict. It can be a little frustrating. At a private language school, no, they're just going to tell you. They're going to tell you very politely. They are effectively telling you in an indirect way anyway, because the boss that owns the place is not going to tell you unless he's the only other person there, which is possible. He's going to have another worker tell you. But that's the point. They will come in there and they will tell you exactly how they want the class taught. Which, yeah, can really be helpful to just train you how to be an English teacher. I can't really speak about any other country. I either haven't done a lot of research or... Oh, yes I can. South Korea, sorry. I actually applied to a job and got an offer in South Korea once, and I had she is still quite alive, a cousin who taught in Korea for quite some time, so I looked up quite a lot on it, read quite a lot on it. To get a job teaching English in Korea, you have to go through the EPIC program or one of other 2 programs like it. It is a state-run program. All jobs teaching English at public schools in Korea are state jobs. Every single solitary one of them. You always go through the state. If you are going through a third-party company, that's fine. They're getting paid to find you, which, again, is fine. It's not a big deal. But you can just go through the EPIC program if you want to do it yourself. Private language schools in Korea are called hagwons. Yeah, it's really weird that I don't remember what they're called in Japan. But they're called hagwon in Korea. And they work much the same way that they do in Japan, but slightly more like they do in China. It's kind of a happy medium. A lot of them provide you with a place to stay. A lot of them are very informal. A lot of them are cram class or cram schools as well. Koreans speak much better English than Japanese or Chinese students. Japanese, oddly enough, speak pretty crap English compared to a lot of other countries in Asia. I have some theories on why, but that's not important. The point is that really there isn't a best job at teaching English, like of your three options. It just depends on kind of what you're looking for, how self-dependent you want to be, how many hours you want to be required to put in, and how much you want to work for yourself. Some people who go to Japan or China and work there for a while will save up enough money to start their own school teaching English, which is always kind of interesting. Thanks for listening.